One out of every 5 kilos of grains harvested in sub-Saharan Africa is lost to pests and decay. In Cameroon, pre- and post-harvest grain losses is estimated at 40%, impacting more severely on the poor.
I dey work corn, I dey work groundnut, I dey work cassava, and I also produce oil. My farm the way I get and the one for corn, I get about 6 hectares of farm for corn. Then for groundnut, about 4 hectares. After harvest, when I don't bring them for house, the house where I get them, the house not be, it need to really take all the corn. So when I don't pack them again, it will ever be some trouble because the corn overpack. And then when I don't put them for days, some of the corn it is rotten and weevils too it is chopper.
We lost some on the farm through a disease called consuming. Then we lost some through weevils. And when it is put into the barn, if no chemicals are used, then the weevils will take a greater part of the corn. We lost a great deal last year. And I cannot estimate how much quantity, because most of the corn was weevilled and rotten.
In Cameroon, SNV started the project in maize development end of 2011, beginning of 2012. After going through some studies, and the studies revealed that maize is staple food for most of Cameroonians. Maize is cultivated in all the 10 regions in Cameroon, is consumed by almost every household, and particularly the northwest, the west, in the extreme north are, let's say, the greater production basins of maize in Cameroon. Can you imagine that in the northwest, each household, each consumer consumes about 50 to 80 kg annual consumption per person in the northwest. In the extreme north, it's more than 100 kg.
In 1993, I started with a small portion of farm, and today I'm able to have about 20 hectares of maize farm, and about 18 hectares of rice farm. For my harvest, we used to harvest 3 tons per hectare, and we've gone in for improved seed, which can give us about 5 tons per hectare. And it is too expensive. A kilo of it is 2,500. And you can imagine, if a hectare is taking 30 kilograms, and then a kilo is 2,500, then 20 hectares would take how much kilo? And besides being expensive, it needs a lot of care. For us to harvest that much, we need to plant on time, we weed on time, we apply fertilizer on time, and because of lack of this input, we need to go and negotiate with our local Jangi house before we ever buy fertilizer. Time has gone. Maybe we're supposed to apply our first fertilizer application on the 5th of April. Then on the 5th of April, I'm more able to get that quantity. It will retard. I will not come in to apply this fertilizer probably during around the 15 or 20. Now the corn has lost its production at that level. Now coming to apply herbicide. If we don't apply it on time, the yield keep on reducing until the end of the harvest, where we will now harvest, but we have probably less than 1 ton or 2 in some cases. Now, when it is ready, we need to harvest it immediately. When we don't, water start entering into the maize from the head. And when water enter there, the head now is already spoiled. So, when we even harvest that at that time, to preserve is a problem. As you can see, we started by making our small preservation by bamboo. We use bamboo. And then, now we move to plank. And today, we are able to use this metal sheet. All this is a way of struggling to stop post-harvest loss. I do also preserve in a barn, the one that we consume immediately, because this one, it is treated and it must stay at least 3 months before consumption. So, but we cannot leave and wait for the corn to be ready before we ever eat. So the one that we preserve in our local barn, we are using it for our daily consumption.
We started investing in the development of the maize, and we realized that the producers are there. They work hard to produce, but also they face a lot of challenges. And one of the main challenges is the post-harvest handling, because we realize that the post-harvest losses are very high, up to 40% in some areas. The average is around 25–30%, which is very high.
If I had machines, I would have planted earlier, and the whole farm would have been planted probably in 4 days or 1 week. Then we come in with machine to harvest. We use the machine to harvest for the next 1 week. But as you can see, we've not even gone half. Maybe we'll harvest till January. And as we are harvesting the corn, as the corn remains in the farm, the animals, they are also eating. Those that are falling, the ants, they fed the corn, then all that are losses. Not to talk of the one that we'll bring to the house. If we are to harvest 3 tons, they will end up by selling 2.1, around that.
Many farmers have lost up to 40% of their produce because they have not been able to keep them the right way.
We dey carry am for farm, so if we no can get correct place for put am, that mean say the chop they go spoil. Now the thing where it dey make we the chop dey spoil. If you get correct place for put am, the chop no fit spoil.
Maize is an important grain in Cameroon, and its production a predominant agricultural activity. However, the main challenges in the maize sector relate to loss of grains, especially during post-harvest operations.
It is useless to produce, and at the end you don't gain. And one of the things we have started identifying is the aspect of farmers harvesting at the right time. Because preservation starts from harvesting. Because you must be aware of when your grains are sufficient, the moisture content are reduced to a level where you can harvest. When the moisture content is still high, you want to harvest, and when it's above 24%, you are looking for trouble. And so one of the aspects is the proper maturity stage of the grains before you harvest, where the moisture content should range from 18% to 24%.
We used to have a silo, like the one at the former agric office there. That was for the farmers of this area, but it's not feasible. It was installed around the 80s.
The day you're harvesting is one of the things you take into consideration. You must harvest at the sunning day so that you reduce some of those huggers that will disturb you during the process of transportation. Rain will soak it, and then that's giving room again to molding and other diseases to attack your grains.
The people of the department are not using it, so farmers cannot go there to use it. When the workers are not there to show them what they have to do first of all before pouring their maize inside.
Generally, food insecurity in Cameroon is largely caused by post-harvest crop loss. This further heightens fluctuating prices between harvesting season and periods of scarcity, whereby even producers of maize resort to traders for their own household portions at very high prices.
We are forced to even retard the education of our children for them to help us on the farm. Because the corn is there, spoiling. How you said, no, please, you people should not go to school today. Let us go and manage and so that we can share some of the corn and then sell for your school fees. And the children will come, and you don't know what is being taught that day. They will lose.
Chop the time where we dey plan for March. So if your ambanya get he will give you. If you get money, if he say one pocket, you plant you take the half, you cook fufu with pikin them for us.
We used to have more demand than supply. Our problem is to have the stock. In fact, when you look, even in the country, they do import corn because the supply is not there. And we have the potentials. In my village, with the negotiation of the fund, he has given us more than, for my group, he has given us more than 200 hectares. But the power is not there. We are unable to hire a tractor to come and keep it there for a month, for a week. It's impossible for us. So that is the problem.
Due to limited access to modern grain preservation technology and lack of modern infrastructure, rural farmers continue to rely on indigenous methods of grain and food preservation.
What I do say, man, the get losses. I try now for see whether they farm the way they go work for day, whether one for dig road where motofi go for day, so that at least motofi carry the corn. Then I try for see say even when not day, I feel when I want for harvest, I don't already organize people the way they feel carry am. Not be say I go first harvest before I find people.
When the corn is harvested from the farm and brought to the home like this, we tie some with the leaves on. We tie some peeling the leaves like you've seen this one. When we do time, then after time we hang. You can see the other one.
When I don't bring her, when I want to make fire, I'll put cypress for under, then I put firewood on top. When I want for put corn for burn, I'll first put cypress for under, then put corn on top, put another cypress again on top.
But in the farm where we have our sheds, we harvest it with that time. We remove a few leaves and then put it up the ceiling for it to get dry there. And when it's dry, then the vehicle carries it through and straight to the barn.
This method where I use and a method where as I don't grow, I see how when my parents they smoke the corn. Now you will continue for the user.
It's abanda where we don't make them so. We don't put corn for there. We tie some one with the bonfire as I dey burn am so that the smoke wey dey go up could make the corn dey dry. When it dry fine, for dry season we will carry am put am for the place where e go just sleep quiet. We go dey move am for there. We grind am for picking them.
If we not put plenty firewood, the corn it go weevil. And if the corn it never dry fine, it go degerminate. So when we put that enough fire, the corn it go heat now, it go strong way, enough weevil again, or enough germinate.
If you get power for the make fire, because the power for the na fire, but they could go bush, the cut firewood, we can't begin the burner.
It not really be easy because the firewood I get for buy am. And for buy firewood where I feel smoke that quantity of corn, it need it easy too. So when I not get enough firewood, the corn too enough it dry fine. So I work at a loss because I need to really be able to get that firewood. And for get that quantity of firewood, the distance too. If you not get their own, as I not get motor, for take motor too for bring that firewood, it'll be not a problem. If you dry the corn for this method, I think that the corn will even last for 1 year. I don't get award at the subdivisional level, how we council that they organize agri show. When I carry my corn go for day, I the win.
Talking about the traditional preservation methods of maize, they're better methods, and I cannot completely dismiss that they're not good, because for some years we have been surviving with what they have. So what we have to do is improving on the aspect of storage, and one of these is training them to know when to harvest, how to harvest, some of those things, and from there they will begin to know when you can store, because when you harvest and transport, that's another sector. As you enter, you have to know how to regulate your way of drying, and after we notice that there are 2 ways. Let me give mainly 2 ways of drying. The first one is air drying, which is good mostly in low altitude areas. And that air drying is advantageous to seed producers because the germplasm of the grains will be reserved. And when you go further, it has a disadvantage in that more of the crops, if you will not harvest on a sunny day, more of it will mold. That's where more of your corn will be selected as wear maize rather than seed maize.
I be aware because we go some seminar from Cameroon. They don't teach me how we feed the preserved corn, but we need some more big warehouses. If it be a big house, you cement them. Then when you don't cement them, when you harvest all your corn, you can't peel them all. You pour them for flour. Then you spray chemical for day. After 6 months before you start use the corn. So for here, how we that will not be able, we will build even the grass house for put the corn. The means for build that kind of house will put that quantity of corn will not be possible.
If the corn is only for food, there's no problem for the farmers to dry the way they're drying. But it becomes a problem when we are drying for seeds. The main objective of this program for the government to initiate this maize subsector program was to be sure of the food security in 2015, because as we have noticed, it's one of the main crops we are cultivating in the whole national territory, and we see that it is also, as we can say, it's if we take 90% of the farm families, we see that they are cultivating maize. And we look at the sector for breweries. The breweries industries, they need corn, and most of the corn is being imported. So the initiative was to cut down the quantity of corn being imported into the country. And what was our real aim, and how are we going to go about it? To go about this, about the sector, was to first identify the problems, and this was done. One of the first problems the minister identified was the seed sector, and we, as normal human beings, we know what seed is all about. Minus seed sector, we cannot talk about production, which means that if there's no seed, there will be no production. If there's no seed security, there's no seed production. And to also continue To also ensure seed production continuity, that seed sector needs to have been developed. We had now to continue training. And so now the main objective of the project again was to facilitate the acquisition of this improved material and farm equipments like tractors. The project had to begin to look how we can also support them with tractors, and they use in the locality where they're operating to increase production. Because a farmer who can work 1/4 hectare with a hand, with a tractor, the farmer can increase to 1 hectare. And that was going to help a lot of production.
My own advice, I be want for advise the government or any organization. Now say may they create farm to market road, may they give insecticides so that the farmers them they feel use them for better up their farms and their crops. Cow too, it be not a problem. If you feel get like bag wire, we will make fence for the farm. I think say it go better, because even the road them, if we just get even a bridge where they just manage that bridge way, even a bike safety pass on top, we will the tie that corn there on top bike, it go better.
We need preservation structures like the silo from the government, because as you have seen, what I will harvest, I will not be able to preserve them. I am forced to say sell now because of lack of preservation. And by selling now, how much are we selling a pocket of 15 liters today? 1,800, 1,500. But when we store it, even in our local market, we'll be able to sell it for 4,000 or 3,500. And you look at the difference, almost 3 times. So we are pleading if government can build a silo, come and see, go to a place and say, okay, I build it here. And we have groups, we have federations of maize producers, and why not empower those structures so that they can take that challenge?
Silos were developed some years back, and they were for large producers. Because silos too, if you don't dry well, you put in a silo, it will get mold. So you have to know the moisture content of the crop, before the grains, before you put it inside a silo. And they need to be well treated, as I was saying, you treat and dry well before you preserve them there. And knowing that the moisture content is below 13%. Because at that particular moisture content, the grain is inactive. It has life, but it is dormant. And until you reactivate with water, that you can see that it begins to react again. So the silos are good for large producers, and we know most of our farmers are small-scale producers. That's what we call it the household production. So they don't see a need to use the silos. But you and me who will be producing on large scale want those silos. But when you have shelled the grains, you would like to put them into a silo. Well treated, you preserve them for a long time. You can preserve them for a year or a little bit more above.
As I don't get this experience, we don't try even for the form now groups there. So I get a group where me and the women them would work together. So we don't start for see how we if we get another method where it go better way up if we be for a group.
There's a gradual development. This idea is being taken over by the government, because the government has seen that as production is increasing, there is that need for storage structure to be improved. So the government is making efforts to see that this sector is one of our priority now that we are looking towards it, to improve our storage facilities. And one of we have identified some structures like containers and treatment with chemicals. We have even identified chemicals like Ateli liquid, which you treat it and you put in container, it can be there for 1 year with no problem.
Food insecurity, grain loss, and the approach by farmers to solve these problems are not new. However, new and effective approaches are needed to address these challenges if tangible reductions in food losses are to be achieved.